Well, good afternoon. A very special afternoon for Westmont, for Santa Barbara, for American poetry. As far as I know, this is the first, certainly extensive tour of the United States by a Palestinian poet, and in this case, two. Probably it couldn't come soon enough. By the way, lest I forget, as I have a tendency to forget the housekeeping things that my wife always tells me, don't forget to wipe the tablecloth, or the table, after the meal. After our fine afternoon together of poetry, the two poets will, as Randy said, answer questions and answers. I was told by Doug Conrad that they could come to the mic so that's another way. But as far as books availability, there are books of both Ghassan and Fadi for sale after the proceeding. And lastly, should I forget, let us give thanks to the sponsors of this very special event, starting with the Poetry Foundation in Chicago, who brought Ghassan 6,000 miles away, and Fadi from Houston, but also University of California at Santa Barbara's Center for Middle Eastern Studies, CMES, is co-sponsoring with Westmont. Our departments of English and History. We thank the History Department greatly, as well as my director, Randy Vandermeer. And finally, the Provost. Many thanks to Mark Sargent. All right, let's begin. We're going to have Ghassan read first. He will read in Arabic. It will be translated then by Fadi, who has done his translations in the book that it's available today. We will then have Fadi read his own work, and I'll introduce each in sequence, and then we will end with a longer poem of Ghassan's. I was struck in recent weeks reading Ghassan Zaqtan's poems more carefully that though difficult at times, there is deep care, caritas, in them, and they reward care. I also caught this sense of rising. There is rampant destruction, desolation, innocents killed by armies, a sister killed by brothers, and of course, as for any Palestinian, the long, slow disappointments of time and promises unkept by the so-called great powers. These have their own heartbreak. One might call it a century-old heartbreak. Still, there are these images in Ghassan Zaqtan of rising. An olive grove, not yet uprooted on the West Bank as has become commonplace. An olive grove is compared to an army of sibling nuns. And soon, moving up the hill, we see the nuns' quote, convent at the end of a mountain was a kite. These sequential metaphors are powered by feeling. The implicitly vulnerable olives become protecting nuns who themselves lift off. Is this prayer, suicide, or peace at last? Ghassan Zaqtan was born in the West Bank town of Beit Jala in 1954, near Christ's own first home, Bethlehem. His father Khalil, also a poet, had started the first school in Daisha refugee camp after having been made refugee from his own hometown of Zakaria in Israel's 1948 War of Independence. Ghassan spent much of his childhood in refugee camps before the family moved to Jordan. They moved again to Beirut and again had to flee after the Israeli invasion of Lebanon in 1982, Ghassan taking up refuge in Damascus while the Palestinian leadership fled to Tunisia. In Damascus, Ghassan became editor of Al-Hurriya, the newspaper of one of the moderate resistance groups. After years of exile in Cyprus, Yemen, and Tunisia, where he edited the Palestine Liberation Organization's literary journal, Bayadir, in 1994, after 40 years of exile, Ghassan Zaqtan returned, together with Yasser Arafat, to Palestine, namely Ramallah. This happened during the Clinton-Rabin-Arafat rapprochement. My mother put a frame of their handshake in our kitchen, and it was there for a long time. Palestinians and Israelis recognized each other and negotiated a two-state solution. However, after Rabin's tragic assassination 1 year later, a final peace settlement has proved to be elusive and is strangely forgotten in the Arab Spring, given that Palestinians were the first Arab nationality to demand freedom and democracy. The author of 10 collections of poetry, Ghassan Zaqtan, had his first book of poems translated and published in English just this year by Yale University Press, and it's called, and it's upstairs for your benefit later, Like a Straw Bird, It Follows Me. He is also a novelist and a film screenwriter, as well as serving the Palestinian Authority on the West Bank as director of the literature and publishing departments of the Ministry of Culture. He has 2 grown sons and a daughter, and this morning in my class, one of our students, who may be out there somewhere, asked a wonderful question. I don't think I've ever heard this asked any poet anywhere in the country. How do you explain what you have gone through to your children? And in particular, the Palestine struggle. And Ghassan said, I don't want my sons to be a soldier, either in their army or in ours. The answer of a poet. Fady Joudah, Ghassan's translator in English, has said, there are many out there who feel strongly that Ghassan Zaqtan is the most important Palestinian poet writing today. Among those admirers was none other than the late Nobel Prize candidate Mahmoud Darwish, who was a friend of Ghassan's. Ghassan and Fadi are here at the tail end of a 15-city tour of the United States, funded largely by the Poetry Foundation in Chicago. They have spoken at Harvard, Brandeis. I understand that was a very emotional reading, and many in the audience broke down and cried. SUNY, don't do that. You're warned. And SUNY Albany, among others. Tomorrow, they will end their tour at UCLA. Flannery O'Connor, the great American short story writer from the South, whose faith was certainly hard-bitten, once said, everything that rises must converge. Ghassan, on a day almost like Palestine by the sea and the mountain, we at Westmont are very glad to converge with you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I read in Arabic, and Fadi will help in translation. ليس بعد. كلما قلت أمضي أو تهيأت للانصراف تنادي علي الوجوه التي كدت أنسى، وتأتي البيوت التي كنت فيها وأحنيت رأسي على طوبها أو ممراتها، ونوديت من مائها حيث تحبو إلى أبد الآبدين الغرف. كلما قلت أمضي تجيء الأغاني التي خلتها لن تعود، وتطرق باب الأيادي القديمة تلك التي فكرت بي أورع الطرق في زمان تبدد، نفس الأيادي التي طوقت معصمي، والتي أمسكت ياقتي، والتي أيقظتني من النوم. موتى وأحياء في الباب، يا سيدي يا محمد.
Not yet. Whenever I say it's time, I went and got ready to leave. All the faces I nearly forgot called to me, and the houses I stayed at and leaned my head against their brick or corridor walls come. And out of their waters, where to the end of endlessness the rooms crawl, I was called. Whenever I say it's time I went, the songs I thought would never return arrive, and the old hands knock on my door, hands that thought of me or shepherded my roads in a time that was obliterated. The same hands that cuffed my wrists and gripped my collar and woke me from sleep, dead and living at the door. O my master, O Muhammad. I wanted to obviously honor Ghassan by having him start reading in Arabic first, and then as we've been doing, I'll read the poem in English first, and then he'll read it in Arabic. So. Black horses. The enemies dead think mercilessly of me in their eternal sleep, while ghosts take to the stairs and house corners, the ghosts that I picked off the road and gathered like necklaces from others' necks and sins. Sin goes to the neck. There I raise my ghosts, feed them, and they swim like black horses in my sleep. With the energy of a dead person, the last blues song rises while I think of jealousy. The door is a slit open and breath enters through the cracks, the river's respiration, the drunks and the woman who wakes to her past in the public garden. And when I fall asleep, I find a horse grazing grass. Whenever I fall asleep, a horse comes to graze my dreams. On my desk in Ramallah, there are unfinished letters and photos of old friends, a poetry manuscript of a young man from Gaza, a sand hourglass, and poem beginnings that flap like wings in my head. I want to memorize you like that song in elementary school, the one I carry whole without errors, with my lisp and tilted head and dissonance. The little feet that stomp the concrete ground with fervor, the open hands that bang on desks. All died in war. My friends and classmates, and their little feet, their excited hands remained stomping the classroom floors, the dining tables and sidewalks, the backs and shoulders of pedestrians. Wherever I go, I hear them, I see them.
خيول سوداء، قتل الأعداء يفكرون بي في نومتهم الأبدية دون رأفة. بينما تصعد الأشباح سلالم البيت ومنحنياته، الأشباح التي التقطتها من الطرقات وجمعتها مثل قلائد من أعناق الآخرين وخطاياهم. تذهب الخطيئة إلى العنق، وهناك أربي أشباحي وأطعمها، الأشباح التي تسبح مثل خيول سوداء في مناماتي. بهمة ميت تنهض أغنية البلوز الأخيرة، وأنا أفكر بالغيرة. الباب موارب والتنفس يدخل من الشقوق، تنفس النهر والسكارى والمرأة التي تصيح في الحديقة العامة على ماضيها. وحين أغفو أجد حصانا يرعى العشب، كلما غفوت يأتي حصان ليرعى أحلامي. على طاولتي في رام الله رسائل ناقصة وصور لأصدقاء قدامى، مخطوطة لشاعر شاب من غزة، ساعة رمل ومطالع تخفق في رأسي مثل الأجنحة. أريد أن أحفظك مثل تلك الأغنية في الصف الأول الابتدائي، تلك التي أحملها كاملة دون أخطاء، اللثغة والرأس المائل والنشاز، الأقدام الصغيرة التي تطرق أرضية الإسمنت بحماس، والأيدي المفتوحة التي تطرق المقاعد. ماتوا جميعا في الحرب أصدقائي وأولاد صفي، وبقيت أقدامهم الصغيرة وأيديهم المتحمسة تطرق أرضيات الغرف والموائد وأرصفة الشوارع وظهور المارة وأكتافهم، وحيث ذهبت أسمعها وأراها.
Wolves. The bird's departure from his heart leaves the plains white, where the story is white, and sleep is white, and silence is the caller's icon. A laugh of sand will sprout when the door is opened from fear's angle, a hymn for the grand winter, and the voices of those who left long ago will jump like grasshoppers when the door is opened. Wait, wait a moment for us to dry a moment. There's in our trays a reckless lament and a ceramic bird. And watch for the necklaces on the ceiling. Why don't you turn the lights on or be happy with sitting? And watch for the fruits on the ground. Your voice in my room exhausts the silence of pots, the silence of shelves, the silence of writing, the silence of lighting, and the silence of survival, which I have been gathering for years with the patience of one who's alone with the garden in summer, or one who retrieves absence, the absence that never stops.
ذئاب، هجرة الطير عن قلبه تترك السهل أبيض، حين الحكاية بيضاء والنوم أبيض والصمت أيقونة للمنادى، ضحكة من تراب ستنشأ إذ يفتح الباب من جهة الخوف، ترنيمة للشتاء الكبير وأصوات من غادروا منذ وقت طويل ستقفز مثل الجنادب إذ يفتح الباب. انتظر لحظة كي نجف، انتظر لحظة، إن في إثرنا أسفا طائشا طائرا من خزف. انتبه للقلائد في السقف، لو تشعل الضوء أو تكتفي بالجلوس. انتبه للثمار على الأرض، صوتك في غرفتي يربك الصمت، صمت الأواني وصمت الرفوف وصمت الكتابة، صمت الإضاءة، صمت البقاء الذي كنت أجمعه من سنين على مهل من يختلي في ذهاب الحديقة بالصيف، أو يسترد الغياب، الغياب الذي لا يلين، الغياب الذي لا يقف.
So Ghassan comes from a town called Zakaria, where in, I guess, Islamic folklore, the prophet Zakaria is laid to rest there. His grave is there. It is now a raised village just... So this is a short poem called Four Sisters from Zakaria. Four sisters climb the mountain alone in black clothes. Four sisters sigh in front of the grove. Four sisters in the dark reading soaked letters. There was a train behind the photo passing from Artuf. There was a horse carrying a girl from Zakaria, whinnying in the slope behind the plains. And the clouds were slowly passing through the canyon. Four sisters from Zakaria, by the hill, alone, in black clothes.
أربع أخوات من زكريا، أربع أخوات يتسلقن الجبل وحيدات بثياب سود، أربع أخوات يتنهدن أمام الحرش، أربع أخوات في العتمة يقرأن بريدا مبتل. كان قطار يعبر خلف الصورة من عرتوف، كان حصان يحمل بنتا من زكريا يصهل في المنحدر وراء السهل، وكان الغيم يمر بطيئا في الأخدود. أربع أخوات من زكريا عند التل وحيدات بثياب سود.
The orchard of Roman olives. Behind the fence and the junkyards, by the end of the crossroads, there were 30 Roman olive trees waiting like an army of sibling nuns climbing up to the convent where the dirt paths had been leveled by hardship, narrow paths like a woolen rope, while the convent at the end of the mountain was a kite.
كرم الروميات. كانت هناك وراء السياج وخلف الخرابات في آخر المفترق 30 رومية ينتظرن كجيش من الراهبات الشقيقات يصعدن للدير، حيث الطريق ترابية مهدتها المشقة، ضيقة مثل حبل من الصوف، والدير في آخر الحبل طائرة من ورق.
It's really difficult to think of a book of poems that is 120 pages long and think of sort of choosing the right poems that would portray Ghassan's I guess wingspan accurately. So some of the choices are because of the intimacy of reading poems, and some of them get lost by the wayside. So I'm just trying to say that the book sometimes will seem like an entirely different adventure, but maybe that's rhetorical anyhow. He thought long of going back there. He thought of going back there where he had left her listening in a blue shirt and short sleeves. There was a man crossing the street without looking, whereas his infidelities were behind him stumbling like a heap of obese women, whereas he was going down the 3 steps careful not to bump into the pampered flower pot. He thought long of going back, where he had left her listening with honey eyes and a cloven heart. A few boys were swinging intensely from the peach tree he has no memory of, while he was trying in vain to discern the steps and move the bougainvillea pot out of the way. When suddenly the bell rang, the ancient bell on the hill which, since that night, the bougainvillea has covered, that night when the 11 brothers killed their only sister.
فكر طويلا في العودة إلى هناك. فكر في العودة إلى هناك حيث تركها مصغية بقميص أزرق وكمين قصيرين. كان هناك رجل يقطع الشارع دون أن يلتفت، بينما خياناته تتعثر خلفه مثل كومة من النساء البدينات، فيما هو يهبط الدرجات ال3 محاذرا أن يصطدم بآنية الزهور المدللة. فكر طويلا في العودة إلى هناك حيث تركها مصغية بعينين عسليتين وقلب مفطور. ثمة أولاد يتمرجحون بقسوة على شجيرة الخوخ التي لا يتذكرها، بينما هو يحاول دون جدوى تقريبا تبين الدرجات وإبعاد نبات المجنونة عن العتبة، عندما فجأة قرأ الجرس القديم في العلية التي غطتها أزهار المجنونة منذ تلك الليلة التي قتل فيها الإخوة 11 شقيقتهم الوحيدة.
We will take a break and we'll come back to him.
As mentioned, we're kind of sandwiching Fady Joudah's poems between Ghassan presentations. So now we'll move to Fady. All right. The 17th century English poet John Milton, blind at the time, wrote these famous lines: "They also serve who only stand and wait." Fady Joudah says, "Trees die standing." That's a line he borrowed actually from an earlier 20th century Palestinian poet, Muin Basiso. Joudah also quotes a line from the great Mahmoud Darwish, "Who has no land has no sea." Think for a minute what it would be like not to have this land of Santa Barbara. What it would be like not to have that sea. Fady Joudah was born in Austin, Texas in 1971, the child of Palestinian refugees from Ashdod. He grew up following his family to Libya and Saudi Arabia, but he never lost a sense of the history of Palestine, nor its literature, nor its longing. He has paid his respects to its tradition by bringing Mahmoud Darwish to the West, and now Ghassan Zaqtan. The first Arab-American winner of the coveted Yale Series of Younger Poets Prize in 2008 for The Earth in the Attic. Fady Joudah also won the 2010 PEN Award for Poetry and Translation for his translation of Darwish's If I Were Another. That night of the PEN Awards in Beverly Hills, I enjoyed being Fady's table mate, though we had to wait till the end of a long ceremony to applaud his award. But like Milton, we soldiered on. Fady not only enlivens, he brings things back to full life. Like William Carlos Williams, Fady Joudah is a doctor as well as a poet. He earned medical degrees at the Medical College of Georgia and the University of Texas. He lives today with his wife Muna, 14-year-old daughter, and 4-year-old son in Houston, where he works as an emergency room physician. You will see many of the suffering lands he has traveled to as a member of Doctors Without Borders flicker in these poems, as if he were seeking the shadows of an ancestral past. Joudah told the Houston Chronicle in a 2008 interview, "I wanted to engage the concept of a stateless person as a theme. For me, being a physician, patients are displaced people, at least momentarily. I wanted to take that to a larger stage, a world stage." The first poem of his first book ends with Fady spotting, in the midst of burned tires and lynched men, the beautiful blue-crested bird called a hoopoe. The taxi driver tells him, "If you believe the hoopoe is good omen, then you are one of us." Fady, we see the hope in hoopoe. Today we are delighted that you are one of us.
Thank you. The ancestral moment, unfortunately, is becoming a futuristic moment for mankind, with the entrapment of the nation state, which I'm sure will be long dead before it's just a big chapter in a history book somewhere. Nothing holds ground in a poem. I was with a crane building its nest when a man from a grass shrapnel village handed me a note that a soldier lay in my bed with a bullet in his thigh. I was in the middle of tents, mothers in a city where each night the donkeys are chattering birds after fetching wood and lugging water. Then comes tranquility, the distance from the square to the quantum of speech. This one falls out like a parasite from the gut, a tiny snake. This one is the age of lacrimal juice, brief like a harvest or a gilded watch with a cracked face on the wrist of the man who wears the same suit every day. In a few days, the body will expel its dead. In a few days, land will bury the living, and memory will do as it did. In the calm, after the rain has bombed the earth, the ants march out of their shelters, one long, frantic migration line. They hit the concrete floor of our dining and living space, then turn into the shadow the wall makes, a straight angle to the courtyard wreckage of dirt and gravel. Did they know the wind would airdrop new rations their way? It's always 2 or 3 ants locking their horns to the acid end over nothing. It seems more than an impulse, the debris plenty for all. In paradise, hospital beds sit under ageless mahogany and sycamore that bear every kind of fruit. Hot meals are autumn leaves, branches are waitress arms and also poles for drips. And birds drop the pills in your mouth from bills of surgical precision. For aspirin, the swallow. For Benadryl, the nightingale. No harm befalls you. The roots will sense your ailment. The flowers will scan your organs. Geranium for the spleen, poppies for the brain, and where there's a latrine, a jasmine vine will blossom. Proposal. I think of God as a little bird who takes to staying close to the earth, the destiny of little wings to exaggerate the wind and peck the ground. I see Haifa by my father and your father's sea, the sea with little living in it, fished out like a land. I think of a little song and how there must be a tree. I choose the sycamore I saw split in 2 minaret trunks on the way to a stone village in a stone thrower mountain. Were the villagers wrong to love their donkeys and wheat for so long, to sing to the good stranger their departure song? I think of the tree that is a circle in a straight line, future and past. I wait for the wind to send God down. I become ready for song. I sing in a tongue not my own. We left our shoes behind and fled. We left our scent in them, then bled out our souls. We left our mice and lizards there in our kitchens and on the walls. But they crossed the desert after us. Some found our feet in the sand and slept. Some homed in on us like pigeons, then built their towers in a city coffin for us. I will probably visit you there after Haifa. A little bird to exaggerate the wind and lick the salt off the sea of my wings. I think God reels the earth in when the sky rains like fish on a wire. And the sea, each time it reaches the shore, becomes a bird to see of the land, what it otherwise wouldn't. And the wind through the trees is the sea coming home. Mother hair. My hair, black now, what you can see of it, was Achilles' hair when I was a child. Or maybe Mamluk, maybe Crusader blood, though Napoleon could only throw his hat at the walls of Acre. Or maybe the ischemic morning I rode the school bus heading for the desert on a field trip. It doesn't matter. My mother intuited loss and stroked my head before I waved goodbye. In the desert, I ate the figs my father had left by my shoes the night before. In the desert, camels are ships parting asphalt, and the school bus smashed into them and killed so many children aboard. When the bus returned, mothers filled the schoolyard with wailing, smacking their cheeks, pulling their hair, counting their children. But there were none missing. It was only rumor. There was only nightfall, and my mother, ready, wearing black, my hair now, maybe Canaanite or Bedouin, maybe Fatima or Zainab. Travel document. You grew up as a Palestinian kid with that expression, travel document. It must be like forgetting how to die. Your grass-grown ruins, stone walls, sadness without eyes. The body puts on its phantom limbs' pain as true account of what happens, and a woman who's worn the wrong size shoes all her life in flight, her toes now crooked, calls flowers by names you gave them, then took them back. If it's the body you want, there is the body that couldn't return, there is the one that wouldn't. Sullen vengeance, an egg's invisible access rising and sinking in boiling water, salt as measure for pickling olives, hands without echoes desire to be heard. Tell me, what else is there to say about land? And I'll end with the Onion poem. Why are there onions the size of swallows in your maple tree? In the land of cactus wind, the one-eyed dwell. Where is the village whose name holds back the sea? Caterpillars are for home demolitions in a globe of tents. Autumn or spring, which is your plumage of choice? Every empire is a return of the dead. And Whitman, what would have become of him had you lost the war? A rooster in rigor mortis pose makes vultures descend. Is that the easiest pain? The Hittites veiled their nuclear weapon for as long as they could. But lilies have rights, iris amendments, and the bats for rabies are for the urban sunset. Are you a tiger or a martyr to deforestation? The genetic map is over the counter, and the Black Sea is black, and the Red Sea red, and the leaves like waves on the pebble shore. I rake them. My father's garden can use some ash. Thank you.
Thank you, Fadi. Well, we'll end with a poem or two of Ghassan Zaqtan, and then we will take your questions.
مثل حلم في الظهيرة لم يفكر لحظة أن الحديقة خلف غرفته تماما، أن سيدة تنام وحيدة في الشقة الأخرى تهيئ كل أمسية عشاء باردا الاثنين، تشعل شمعة وتنوس الأضواء كي تتسلل الأصوات نحو فراشها لتنام في طياتها، تختار زائرها كما تختار حلما أو تؤثث رغبة. الباب للمفتاح والدرجات رائحة الغريب وقد تراكم في الغياب. الياسمينة شرفة الماضي، السياج سجية النهدين، نوع الحب. والعشب البعيد الناس في دنيا من الأعذار، حيث لكل صوت وقته ولكل أمنية جناح. ولم يفكر لحظة أن يفتح الشباك حيث تفتحت وبلا انتظار مثل حلم في الظهيرة دهشة الأزهار فوق شجيرة التفاح.
Like a dream at noon. He didn't think, not for a moment, that the garden is exactly behind his room, that a woman sleeps alone in the other apartment. Each night she prepares a cold dinner for two, lights a candle, then dims the lights for sounds to creep into her bed and sleep within the creases. She selects her visitors the way she selects a dream or furnishes a desire. The door is for the key. The steps are for the stranger's smell as he accumulates in absence. The jasmine is the terrace of the past. The fence is the temperament of her breasts, the type of love, and the distant grass and people in an excuse-filled world were to each time a voice and to each wish a wing. And he didn't think, not for a moment, to open the window where without waiting, like a dream at noon, the astonished flowers were above the apple trees. This will be the last one. In the book, there is about a 20-poem sequence called Pretexts, and within the sequence, there are smaller sequences. I'll read one of the smaller, not the whole sequence, but one of the smaller sequences, however you say that. Song of the Orchard's Watchman. Dear daughter, when you go to pick the quince, don't wake the orchard's watchman from his sleep. He's been dead for a long time, as you know. The bones of little girls make his pillow. His mattress is out of his dead wife's bracelets, and in his purse is his fugitive wife's head. Try to sing a little in front of the trees so they may love you. How sweet it was your singing on the night of commemorating the Prophet's birth. We were at the periphery of some place, two poor beings seeking sustenance, and singing used to spin us like two straw birds. The dervishes were throwing their bodies into the circles. Water used to come out of stone. Stone chased the summer down. Summer was of the sun's making, and the sun was with its kin. This is how a self is taken.
أغنية حارس الكرم. يا ابنتي، عندما تذهبين لقطف السفرجل لا توقظي حارس الكرم من نومه، إنه ميت منذ وقت طويل كما تعرفين. مخدته من عظام البنات، وفرشته من أساور زوجاته الميتات، وفي خرجه رأس زوجته الهاربة. حاولي أن تغني قليلا أمام الشجيرات حتى تحبك. كم كان عذبا غناؤك في ليلة المولد النبوي، ونحن على طرف من مكان فقيران نسعى، وكان الغناء يمررنا في تعاريجه طائرين من القش. كان الدراويش يلقون أجسادهم في الدوائر، والماء يخرج من جبة الصخر، والصخر في أثر الصيف، والصيف من صنعة الشمس، والشمس في أهلها. هكذا تؤخذ النفس. Thank you.
Thank you, Fadi and Ghassan.